The film opens with a mysterious scene of an egg yolk being injected with a green fluid, which causes the yolk to split and create an identical copy. Time passes, showing Elizabeth's popularity diminishing as she goes from being a celebrated figure to an afterthought in the public eye. Elizabeth hosts a TV aerobic show called Sparkle It Up. When she's unable to use the women's restroom, she sneaks into the men's room, hiding when she hears someone approaching. She overhears Harvey, the network's president, discussing how they plan to replace her now that she has turned 50. Later, Elizabeth has lunch with Harvey, who unceremoniously fires her. While driving home, Elizabeth becomes alarmed when she sees her billboard being taken down, which distracts her and leads to a serious car accident. At the doctor's office, she is told by a nurse that she is a perfect candidate for something. The nurse slips a flash drive into Elizabeth's jacket pocket as she leaves. Back at home, Elizabeth watches the contents of the flash drive, which introduces her to the substance. A voice explains that the substance allows the user to switch between their young and old bodies every 7 days, giving them the experience of being both young and better versions of themselves. Initially hesitant, Elizabeth, feeling lonely and nostalgic for her former glory, decides to call the number on the flash drive. She is given an address and told to provide her own, committing to the mysterious offer. Elizabeth receives an ID card and follows the instructions to a shady alley, leading her to a secret building. Inside, she finds a deposit box with her number, and when she opens it, she discovers the substance. She returns home and injects herself with a green fluid. Shortly after, Elizabeth collapses in pain as a giant slit opens in her back, from which a younger, beautiful woman, Sue, emerges. Sue quickly stitches up the wound and uses a stabilizer fluid on both herself and Elizabeth's body to keep everything in balance. Sue takes on her new identity and begins to gain attention quickly, securing a spot at Elizabeth's old network after impressing Harvey. She enjoys the newfound admiration and lives her first week with high energy and excitement. Meanwhile, Elizabeth, when she returns to her original form, feels her life is dull and uneventful. The only notable event is going back to the network to collect her belongings from Harvey. And Sue returns to her younger form, she lands a full-time fitness show, and Harvey agrees to work around her unconventional schedule. Sue also builds a separate room in the bathroom to hide Elizabeth's unconscious body when she's in her younger form. Sue goes out for a night of fun, bringing home a guy named Troy. However, as her time as Sue runs out, she begins to experience a nosebleed, signaling that she needs to switch back to Elizabeth. Desperate to prolong her time as Sue, she extracts more stabilizer fluid from Elizabeth's body, using it to buy herself more hours with Troy. After spending extra time as Sue, Elizabeth wakes up to find that her right hand is aged prematurely and looks sickly. Panicked, she calls the number for the substance, only to be told that the effects of overusing it are irreversible. She's warned not to treat Sue as a separate person, as Sue is still technically Elizabeth. While out at a diner, Elizabeth meets an old man who has a similar birthmark to the nurse who introduced her to the substance. The man warns her about the negative effects of using the younger self and asks if Sue has started eating away at her yet. Deciding to reach out to Fred, Elizabeth agrees to dinner with him. Fred is eager, but Elizabeth becomes distracted when she sees a billboard for Sue's show. Frustrated with her aging appearance and the ongoing situation, she cancels the dinner plans, choosing to stay home instead. During a taping of Sue's show, Sue struggles with a bad take due to feeling something unusual bulging against her backside. Elizabeth goes to the bathroom and is horrified to discover that the lump is a chicken leg emerging from her belly button. Meanwhile, Sue calls the number to complain about Elizabeth's binge eating and drinking, feeling overwhelmed by her lack of time for herself. Sue later learns that her popularity has soared and the network wants her to host a New Year's Eve special. She agrees, spending even more time as Sue, leaving Elizabeth's body neglected. When Elizabeth returns to her old form, she finds herself looking even older and more frail. She grows resentful, particularly after watching Sue mock her old show on a talk show, while Elizabeth is left alone. In retaliation for Elizabeth's self-destructive habits, Sue spends 3 months extracting fluid from Elizabeth's body. The fluid becomes increasingly corrupted, looking like an infected sore. Desperate, she calls the number for the substance and is told that her time with the younger body is up and the stabilizing fluid will reset when she returns to Elizabeth's body. Sue reluctantly returns to Elizabeth's body, but she finds herself transformed into a grotesque, hunchbacked abomination. Deciding to end the substance once and for all, Elizabeth attempts to terminate it by injecting Sue with a black fluid. However, she stops short of completing the injection. Sue awakens enraged and violently attacks Elizabeth. She smashes Elizabeth's face against a mirror before beating her to death. Afterward, Sue prepares for the New Year's Eve special, but her body begins to deteriorate rapidly. Her front teeth fall out, her fingernails peel off, and her ear literally slides off. Panicked, Sue races home and finds a vial of activator fluid, which she believes will create another young body. Instead, it gives birth to a horrific creature, Monstro Elisa Sue, a grotesque hybrid with multiple limbs, teeth, and Elizabeth's face gasping in agony on its back. Monstro Elisa Sue heads to the network with Elizabeth's face taped to its body, wearing Sue's dress. As Monstro nears the stage, its face falls off, revealing its monstrous form to the audience, including horrified children. In a panic, Harvey tries to stop the creature by attacking it with a mic stand, blowing its head off. However, the head regenerates, and as Monstro's arm falls off, it sprays a fountain of gore onto the audience, covering the room in red goo and sending the crowd to chaos. The Monstro manages to stagger out of the studio, but its grotesque form collapses and splatters into nothingness. From the wreckage, a fleshy mass with Elizabeth's original face emerges, crawling towards her Walk of Fame star. As she reaches it, Elizabeth looks up with a glimmer of joy, imagining sparkles raining down on her in a final moment of delusion. She smiles one last time, savoring the fleeting illusion of her former glory. However, this moment is short-lived, as Elizabeth's body dissolves into a puddle of goo. In the morning, a floor scrubber comes through, washing away the remains of what was once a celebrated star. The puddle disappears, leaving no trace of Elizabeth behind. That's how the movie ends. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel.